It's Tuesday, May 18th, Election Day in the town of Ashland. You're watching the live election night coverage of the town election here in Ashland. Makita, we're together again. Pandemic's not going to hold us back. We're back together to bring Ashland the election results. How are you?
I'm feeling great, John, and reunited, and it feels so good. It's almost like the before times, right? Almost like the before times.
It's almost getting back to the normal days, right? Yeah. So it's wonderful. Hopefully we had a good turnout at the polls and the pandemic didn't do it. I often say that all politics is local. And if you don't vote in your local election, that's the most important election that you can vote in, because that's where you raise your family. That's where your kids go to school. It's an important election. So hopefully we had a good day at the polls. But Makita, we've got two important guests. Why don't you introduce?
Absolutely, John. So we're going to kick the show right off with two very special guests, Jim Adams and Paul Kendall. Jim Adams is superintendent of Ashland Public Schools, and Paul Kendall serves on our school committee. And they're going to give us an update on the Mendez School Building Project. Gentlemen, welcome.
Great. Thank you
for having us.
So,
where do you want to begin, Makita?
Where do you want to begin?
Listen, as always, I'll take the lead and then defer to Paul, because as chair of the school building committee, he's certainly heavily involved in what we've got going on. But I think from my lens, I just want to say thank you again to the entire Ashland community for their tremendous support going back to the town meeting for this project, and for those who have been a part of the Mendez school building that currently exists. They know it's been well loved, and as Claudia Bennett says, well used, but it's time to move on from it. And the work that we're doing as a committee and under really Paul's leadership is I think fantastic stuff. And yes, there are a lot of people involved, but it really takes someone coordinating and being as thoughtful of what's happening as a citizen as well, right? I mean, I might have a different lens as the superintendent, and I live in another town, but Paul's always, as a school committee member, has looked out for what's best for the town, but also what's best for the schools, which is a very noble attribute. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Kendall.
Okay, I'm not sure how to follow that. I don't.
Tell them what's going on.
So we got a lot going on right now with the project. We're currently finishing up the design development stage, and quite frankly, we were a little bit delayed because of some of the crazy market conditions lately. If you've been keeping up with things, almost overnight, that some of the construction market has gone a little haywire, and it happened to coincide exactly with our last round of estimating. So we're in a value engineering stage where we're trying to find ways to nip and tuck different things to still stay within our budget. At this stage, we're still in estimating, and we'll have another estimating at 60% construction documents. So lots going on, and we wish we didn't have to make these value engineering decisions at this point. But I'm confident we'll keep the project moving, and hopefully some of the market conditions ease up by the time we actually have to go out and bid.
So Paul, you never want to, first, I agree with Superintendent Adams. I've been involved in Ashland politics for a long time. I've never seen anybody as committed to the core as you are. So, I compliment you on that. But I do have to ask you kind of a little bit of a difficult question, and I apologize for it because it's not your fault or the school committee's fault. Construction costs have gone up, even, cost of goods, labor, cost of fuel is going up. Do you anticipate any changes having to go back or dropping anything or coming back to the voters or anything?
Yeah, no, that's not really an option, both from, just it's not the right thing to do, and also right. The process we're in. So we've done a lot of work over the last few weeks when the estimates came in, and I'm confident we can get this done without making significant cuts that are noticeable to other people. There's so many things that the team has done. We've manipulated the building a little bit, squished it here and there, just not changing the overall square footage or anything like that, but it alters how much site work is needed and saving some money here and there. Mm-hmm. And so there's still lots of options. And I don't think we're gonna have we're still going to have the project that we've been talking about, and down the line we have more options. So we had bid day savings. We're going to be able to put some of these things that are, we're going to put as add alternates, they call it. So we accept an alternate to the design or an alternate material, and then we can have both bid at bid day, and then we'll know better exactly what the budget is. Up until this point, everything has been estimated, right? But the estimating has gone on during the pandemic. So the standard, what you've seen with lumber and different other things over the last year, has been part of the escalation costs we've been carrying. So that wasn't a surprise. But if you look at read the articles, literally within a 2-week period, structural steel, rebar, everything tripled. It literally tripled. And so that's a bubble. And hopefully when we bid, we'll be on the other side of that bubble. It won't come down to where it was, but certainly I think it's something we can absorb. But that's the exercise we're in now. But we also have the healthy contingencies that once we get further along in the process can be utilized for some of those add-alts. So if we're taking something right now to balance it during this estimating phase, we might have some options later on as well to bring it back, even if we don't see the markets easing as much as we would hope they will.
From John, from a school perspective, right? The exercise is really good from a financial perspective to make sure that we're keeping within the budget, not to exceed number that we talked about at town meeting. But we're also making sure that as we go through this, what Paul referred to as the value engineering, that we're not really changing the makeup inside of the building in terms of how we run programs, right? So that's important to us to work through every little nook and cranny, if you will, of how the building looks and how it will impact student learning. And that's what's really important. We're not changing that. The layperson wouldn't know that we shifted something or moved something a little bit here, there. And that's been really important. And we've had all of, myself, Mike Kyra, Claudia Bennett, all the folks that are, really invested in the building itself take part in those conversations. So.
Yeah, we've really focused on two primary things. Nothing that affects programming and nothing that impacts the community access and community assets that we've been, because this is, we've said it, we believe it, that this is going to be one of our key community assets. And so things that cut into that aren't acceptable either, right? So for us, so we're really focused on making sure that whatever is on the table from a value engineering, if we need it later on, that we have a plan for it. So everything so far has been things we can certainly work with. And to Jim's point, I don't think most people on an end product would even know that we did it.
Right.
Well, Paul and Jim, we're kind of coming up to the end of this segment, but so really quickly, how can people, I know, Jim, I being part of the schools community myself, I see a lot of updates from Jim and the school committee on the project, but where can people stay informed about the progress of the project, and who can they contact with any questions they may have?
A couple ways. We have our website that we keep updated as we go through the process through the Ashland Public Schools website. We have a new website, so there's the building committee and the building project has its own link to it. But typically then the chair, so Paul receives emails. I don't know the exact email address, Paul, if you're using just the chair at the school building committee, or if it's or Paul Kendall.
Yeah, so people can, building committee at ashland.k12.ma.us. We have a Facebook page as well that people can like and go to. And I'll also just use this as an opportunity. Right now, we're in the process of reaching out to all the neighbors of the project, both direct abutters, but also the neighborhoods that surround it, to start having and introducing them to the project team. So if anybody is listening to this, please reach out to me because I want them on a contact list. I want to invite them to meet our construction manager and things like that, because we're going to be in a relationship with these neighbors for a few years yet, and we want to be the best neighbors we can. So that starts with getting them on the team and involved and knowing the faces and the people involved and hearing them. So if anybody's listening, please reach out to me if you are a neighbor and you haven't heard from me or one of your other neighbors, then please reach out to me.
Well, just real quick, everybody always wants to know how much and when's it going to be done. So what's the anticipated completion date?
It'll be the fall of 2023 is the open date. And so that's when the school will open. The fields out front will still be, getting worked on through the spring of 24 and then a full growing season of grass, but it will be open for business September of 23.
That's great. Great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Superintendent Adams, just real quick, and not to put you on the spot, your
Sure.
biggest surprise as the students have returned to the classrooms from COVID?
Biggest surprise?
Yeah, but
I don't know if there are any surprises, to be honest. I think
that's good, right?
There's been tremendous excitement.
Good.
I think it's palpable. You walk in the classrooms, especially when it first started back in April, when we first started coming together. Kids and teachers alike want to be there, right? They are excited to be in person learning. I've got a high school kid and a middle school kid myself. They're excited to go to their schools. It was almost seamless to a certain extent, right? So
I think that's the best news that anybody could hear tonight, no matter what. Because so the kids are getting back into normal. Good.
Yeah, 21 days, 21 days, and then this is over. Not that I'm counting.
Of course not, Jim. Of course not, Jim. Jim. Paul, thank you so much, Jim Adams, Superintendent of Ashland Public Schools, Paul Kendall on the Building Committee and School Committee. Thank you so much for your time and for this transparent and very helpful community update.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for everything you guys do for the community.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
And now we're going to take a little break. John and I are going to take a little break, and we're going to share a special segment with you that will be rolling in a few seconds. So stay right here. We're going to be showing you all sorts of things about what happened today in Election Day, what's happening this summer in Ashland. So don't move. We'll be right back.
Hi, we're with Lisa Churchill in Blush Bouquets in downtown Ashland. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here today.
It's a pleasure to have you here. We're going to talk a little bit about how you've survived as a small business owner with COVID. But why don't you tell a little bit of the Ashland viewing community, a little bit about yourself and how you came back to Ashland?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that know that we've been here as Blush Bouquets for 2 years now. I live here in Ashland now, grew up actually right down the street in Hopkinton. My brother and sister-in-law are still raising their kids in our childhood home. My dad and my brother are business owners here in Ashland, so I've been very familiar with the Ashland business community for about 20 years now. They own a commercial land and snow company called The Groundskeeper on the other side of town. And when the opportunity to purchase, a 60-year-old flower shop, something that flower shops are going out of business quite frequently these days, so the ability to bring fresh flowers back to Ashland as the only flower shop in town was a really interesting and now rewarding experience for me.
So let's talk a little bit about how you got the flower shop, the little story behind it. Everybody knows this was Talvy's, an Ashland institution for a long, long time.
Absolutely. People still come in every day and tell me a story about Mr. and Mrs. Talvy. So my career actually is not as a floral designer or as a florist or in retail at all. I spent the first, call it 20 years of my career as an event planner. So I think that's why I love a good party. But I transitioned out of, general meetings into high luxury marketing and events for private jet companies and ultra luxury car companies. So I was running events all over the world, living the high life, of course, enjoying every moment of it, and really got burned out by it. Was traveling all the time, missing my family, and it felt like the time to come home. Sort of spent a year and a half, looking for the right opportunity and not finding it. And one day, like kismet, the paper went up over the front windows of the Talvy's store here, right in downtown, beautiful location, and we knew it was sort of meant to be. So very quickly made a call and came in and chatted with Dave, and we were able to make it happen. And we reopened in the middle of April. So Ashland was without a florist for probably only 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And now it's been 24 months. We just had our 2-year anniversary last weekend. We've survived a year before the pandemic and a year of the pandemic. So definitely 2 very different years, but have taught me a lot about small business ownership and entrepreneurship and everybody's favorite word these days, the pivot.
Well, you support other local businesses as well, a little bit about that. And
Yeah.
like when I was a customer here for Mother's Day, and that's how we got this conversation going. But even when I told my wife that the extra products that, the soaps and the candles are all local products.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and why you think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So the majority of the products in my store are female-based companies, and we try to support local whenever possible. So the soap line that you're actually standing in front of right now is made by a female maker in Framingham called Fiorella. This candle line is made by a female candle maker up in Kennebunkport. We do carry Crazed Mom candles, which are made by a mom here in town. Female-owned jewelry companies, female-owned stationery companies, female artists with our cards. As a woman, trying to make it in this world, I think it's really important that we support other people that are building companies like ours. So it's like looking in a mirror, right? So trying to support them whenever possible. Of course, it's not always possible, but it is. Whenever I'm looking for a new brand, it is the first thing that I want to check off the box, whether it's female or local. When it can be both, it's even better. And I do find that people come into the store and they say, oh, this is from Framingham, and they're drawn to it. They want to support somebody local as well.
I thought it was a really nice niche. So, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, you've survived 2 years of Mother's Day during a pandemic.
Absolutely.
Can't be easy. New business coming in, worldwide pandemic, Mother's Day hits, but then you survived that, and then you came, as we come out of the pandemic, hopefully, you survived this year's Mother's Day. Talk about the difference between the two.
Yeah, so if I could even go a step back,
Sure.
I survived the first year of being Talvy florist and then transitioning into Blush as, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to be, what we wanted our business to be about, what we wanted our brand to be about. And when the pandemic hit and doors are closed, I very quickly realized, especially with my marketing background, that I was going to have to do something to differentiate myself. I was going to have to get my name out there and become a true brand that people were going to be responding to, which made me, within 72 hours, we got 300 items on a website so that people could start shopping online, because that was really your only opportunity, was to shop online, and people wanted to support local businesses. So we went from having 2 wire services, we were Teleflora and FTD and a cooler full of flowers, to really, I even turned off our back cooler for a few weeks because the only flowers I could get fit in our little tiny walk-in out here. All the wholesalers were shut down. People were terrified to leave their house. People were terrified to look at each other, but they still wanted to send flowers. So we had to find new ways of sourcing flowers. We had to find new wholesalers to go shop from. We had to, last year, I remember on Mother's Day, I couldn't even answer the phone that week. The phone was ringing off the hook. People were putting orders in online. We had to cut the orders. We could only deliver so many every day. People were eventually sending me emails like, my wife is so-and-so, please, this, her, this means so much to her. We got through it and we felt really good about it. And then this year came around, and what's really interesting is the floral industry right now is facing a whole new set of challenges, which I think a lot of restaurants are also facing, which is when shutdown happened, they all had to trash their crops, which meant they didn't have anybody to replant them, and they didn't know what the world was going to look like now. So flowers are a shortage, just like I'm sure vegetables are on a shortage, meat is on a shortage. It's really given us a whole new way of dealing with those challenges. We ran out of flowers on Friday, 2 days before Mother's Day, and we had to figure out a way to refill them with 2 days to go. Amazingly, this community has really embraced us. We are not the same flower shop that Talvy's were. Hopefully we have the same amount of community love that people had for the Talvy's, but we're offering a very different product. And people have really embraced it, and they come and they support us and they support me. On Saturday, Larissa and I were joking that there was a line for 50% of the day.
Wonderful.
People really came out in a way that I didn't expect. I think with restrictions being lifted and people being vaccinated and feeling more comfortable to go out, it makes me excited for this summer. The return of graduation parties, the return of backyard parties, the return of people needing balloons for things, people needing flowers for things. And so that's what I'm the most excited about now, is seeing when the world reopens, you know, what does that mean for my business? We've developed this amazing following in the last 12 to 13 months of pandemic, but what's the next step for us gonna look like?
Well, you know, I got to give you a shout out, you know, coming here for Mother's Day and important days like that. Just the customer service that we've received here, you know, is that it's made a big difference, you know, a woman or a wife will laugh, you know, but it's a stressful thing, you know, because you got to get Mother's Day right, you got to get birthdays right, you got to get the anniversaries right, and so the care and concern and the way you work with the customers and the clientele and the recommendations, I think it's a very nice piece, and it's nice to see that is available here in Ashland.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I jokingly say to some of my customers that for some of the repeat shoppers that I'm going to open gift registries for them, you know, come tell me what you want to buy, what you like, and then send me your husband. And I'll tell him what you like in the store. We'll get him right out the door. You know, I want this place, you know, if you look around, it's bright, it's white, it's pink, it's happy. I want this to be a happy place. I want this to be an inviting place. I want to be part of our community here. So, you know, I want when you walk in the door and you go, I don't know what she wants. I want to make that easy for you.
And you do.
And I want to get you out the door with something that you love, she loves, and you'll come back again and see me.
And we'll come back again.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the website a little bit. Tell people, you know, talk a little about your website, give out your web address, give out a phone number, and let people know.
Absolutely. So blushbouquets.com is our website. You can order all of our gift items. They are available for pickup, delivery, shipping, as well as our flowers. You can order your delivery there. Our store is here Mondays through Fridays. We are here 10 to 5. On Saturdays, we're here 10 to 2, right at 20 Front Street in Ashland. Our phone number is 508-881-1140. If you get the answering machine, it's probably because I'm either helping somebody or in the cooler, but we're here and we're happy to help.
And you'll call right back.
Oh, absolutely. You'll probably be stuck on the phone with me for a while.
Guys, get down here. It'll make your life a lot easier. And we'll get back to election night coverage right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to live election night coverage here on WACA. We've got a couple of things up that will be of great interest to all. John, do you want to share some of the breaking news that we have on tap for our viewers right now?
Well, we've got some unofficial results from the town clerk's office. It looks like Yolanda and Rob Scheer were reelected to the Board of Selectmen. And on the school committee, Mark Terry was reelected. And also we have a new member to the school committee tonight, Tina Fentides. I always mispronounce her name, but she was the overall winner of the school committee with 585 votes. So, and so we've got a new member of the Ashland School Committee. KG Narayana was reelected to the Board of Health and in another contested race. And then Claire Gross and Linda Ween were reelected to the Library of Trustees. So congratulations to all of the winners. Keep in mind that these are unofficial results and still everything's going to be tallied, but it looks like we've got a new member of the school committee and the select board is going to stay intact the way it was. So congratulations to all the winners. And more importantly, congratulations to everybody who participated.
Indeed, John. And, you know, getting back to your earlier point, all politics, as it says over your shoulder, is local. If you care about what's happening in your community, use your voice. And as we saw tonight, folks came out and they let their voice be heard. So these local elections, it could go any way. So it's important that you get out and do that thing. John, can you introduce our next segment with our guests here?
Well, we've got two very important guests. Some would say legends in the town, Mr. Joe Mignani, and we're joined by the town manager, Michael Herbert. One thing I want to get right off the table, and you know, it's always easy to criticize, you know, people, and it's always easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. But what you guys did through COVID, I don't think you guys can be complimented enough the way you guys guided the town through COVID. And especially the way you communicated, Mr. Herbert, through the pandemic. I think you need to be applauded for that. I see a lot of other stuff, and there was never any question what was going on. So I just want to give a big round of applause to the Board of Selectmen, Absolutely. Board of Health, of course, but you know, more importantly to you, Mr. Herbert, because you know, you got us through a pandemic, and we thank you for that.
Well, I really appreciate those kind words, John. It's something that they don't teach you in grad school, obviously. We were flying by the seat of our pants or writing the script, so to speak. But I really have to give a lot of credit to our team, our Board of Health. I really also have to give a lot of kudos to Ed Berman and the work that he did. we would not have been successful as we have been without his guidance and his leadership through this.
Well, that's great. Yeah. And Ed is a saint. Definitely a saint. And he's doing even stuff for the Metro West community. So that's good. But you guys are here tonight to give us an update on the public safety building and where we're at.
Well, thank you. Good evening. I don't mean to take any thunder away from Michael.
No.
But I do want to give kudos to Mike with what you just said, John, and Makita with respect to the COVID pandemic and how it was handled. Mike's intuitive thought process about getting Ed Berman involved right from the get-go on the forefront of this definitely set some control and guidance to a very difficult time when nobody knew anything about what was going to happen or where it was going to lead to, and there was some structure and there was some guidance that was desperately needed, and Ed definitely provided that for us and for other communities as well that called Ashland to make sure, how are you folks doing all this? And Ed would provide them his knowledge and his workbook about what to do and what not to do. And so you're right, his experience and his leadership was definitely felt throughout Metro West. So kudos to you and kudos to Michael for getting that to happen. So thank you. So with respect to the public safety building, as you go by, you can see that the area has completely been changed. You can see that there are piles of stone, large boulders, small boulders, and a lot of dirt. And that's all coming from the transition of getting the site ready and leveling everything off and doing what needs to be done for the construction of the building. I would say that the last construction meeting, we were told that we're looking at maybe 2 more weeks of blasting, and that blasting will be completed. And I don't want to put the whammy on us because it's usually Murphy's Law, which I'll just paraphrase as Magnani's Law. If I say something, the total opposite is going to happen. So I would say that the blasting schedule is right on schedule. And they're not seeing as much as they anticipated to see with respect to large
Ledge.
rocks and bricks and things of that nature. So kind of happy with that. So they're ahead of schedule, which is a good thing, and they're moving right along. And if you go by there on a daily basis, you can see the changes. I mean, a lot of the materials that are coming from that site are going to be reused on the site. That is a cost savings as well to the town, and we couldn't ask for a better group of folks that we had contracted to do this work. HKT, CTA, and have done a remarkable job on getting the designs and all the layout done, and the OPM, John Lemieux from Vertec, has done a fantastic job as well. Lines of communication are always open. If there's any question, they answer us. They answer our questions immediately. We have the website information on the public safety building website, which is on the town site. So if anybody has any questions or concerns, they can always, find the answers on that website. And if not, they can contact us through the public safety building email that we have, which is attached to that site. So basically, so far so good. We're on schedule, and I can't wait for the brick and mortar and steel structure to start going up. And I don't know, I would say maybe late June, maybe for something like that, Michael, with the other work that they have to do. I know there's geothermal borings that have to be done and things of that nature. So maybe the later part of June or July for if you start seeing structural improvements happening on that site.
Yeah, I think, as Joe said, just to kind of paraphrase, they've been doing a lot of site work, and that's been moving on schedule, actually ahead of schedule, and just as importantly, on budget. We've had a couple of Small change orders, meaning like $10,000 and less, just a couple of those, which is really important. But yes, we should be going vertical within the next few weeks. So you'll actually start seeing a building emerge from the ground. And that's really going to be when a lot of excitement's going to be generated within the community. But I also just want to reemphasize what Joe has said. We have an incredible team working for us, both in terms of the professional engineers and architects and project managers. And then we've got a great committee headed by Joe. And then really the staff person that has been running point on this has been Jen Ball. And she's just been doing a remarkable job of just maintaining those lines of communication, as Joe said, but also making sure everybody's kept in line. And that's not easy.
It certainly is.
Are you gentlemen worried about, we talked about this with the school, with
Yeah.
the superintendent and the school committee. Are you guys worried about costs with the, cost of everything going up right now? Fuel
You
prices,
beat me to it, Joe.
fuel prices, lumber, rebar.
Right now, we are not, and we've had explicit conversations about that with the contractor. The contractor, bid a specific price for a specific amount of materials, specific quantity, and we expect them to hold to that. They know that is our expectation. So we do not expect that to impact us the way it is impacting the schools. And I did watch a little bit of Paul's interview and Jim's interview, and what they're saying is exactly right. At this point in time, there is a very strong surge in prices. We fortunately were able to bid our project out much earlier than they were. And that's just because of the MSBA process, not anything that we did better or they did wrong.
They have more hurdles to jump and clear before anything happens. So we didn't have to do that route. So the pricing would basically stay the same because they have already ordered and pre-ordered all the materials. So hopefully that does not affect the cost of the project. And CTA is very much aware of that. So we'll see. And I'm again very cautiously optimistic, John, would be the way I would go about this project. I'll be happy once it's built and they give us the keys to the door and we can move on and have everybody enjoy a beautiful new building that'll last us over 50 years, because it's been long overdue, as you know.
Well, Steve Mitchell's done a wonderful job of updating people via social media. He goes above and beyond. I got to give a shout out to Steve as well for that, because if you have any questions, he'll certainly answer them.
Yep.
So that's good as well too.
He's our media consultant.
Anything more that we need to know? Because we never have enough time here. But
Yeah.
No, I think we just about given you everything. I mean, I appreciate Steve's knowledge and use of his drone. We get some great sights and videos of that drone footage. So that's always a welcomed bit of information to provide to everybody in town.
Well, I don't want to be like Joe and set the whammy on things or put the whammy on things, but just to set expectations, we are still anticipating opening this building in May of next year.
Wow.
It's a very aggressive construction schedule. So far, we are meeting that schedule. And again, don't want to put the whammy on it. There's a lot of things that can happen during the construction cycle, but that is still our goal.
Well, my goal
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead. I was good. Go ahead.
Just one other thing with respect to the public safety building. It'll be the first public safety building in Massachusetts that's geothermal.
That's incredible. And that's actually a very significant achievement. I think that, Ashland frequently is said to punch above our weight here in town.
Yeah.
Once again, we're setting the example for the rest of the Commonwealth. And so on that note, I want to thank both of you gentlemen for giving us a really great update on the public safety building. And as you know, WACA will be following this story very closely, and we're looking forward to getting periodic updates from both of you to find out how the project is going and to let the community know what's happening. So again, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having us. And hearing those who won, I just want to congratulate Yolanda and Rob for being reelected. Looking forward to working with them for another, another year with me anyway, another 3 years for their board. And John, you made a great point. Thank everybody for getting involved, because it's important. And Makita, you said the same thing. It's really important to stay involved and to stay focused on what's important for the community, not what's important just for one small group or individual factions, but the community as a whole. And I think that's one thing that this board can be proud of, because we look at the town as a whole and not break it up into individual camps. It's everybody as one. Some people may not like that, but at the same token, it is what it is, because we're supposed to work for the town and benefit the town completely, not just individually. So I think that's what we've done, and that's what we've shown.
Well, if they don't like it, they can run next year, right?
And I'll reserve my comments on that for later.
Well, again, gentlemen, thank you so much. I can't think of a better way to end this segment. Coming up next, we actually have a tape segment for you. We're going to find out what happened at the polls today, and we're going to have a conversation with our town clerk. We'll get an update on what's going on with town meeting too. So stay tuned. And then on the other side of that, we'll have a few more live interviews with folks who ran for office today. So stay tuned.
As part of our continuing coverage here on WACA-TV for election night coverage, we thought it was important to go to the town clerk. The town clerk, Tara Ward, is a legend, not only in Massachusetts, but of course in Ashland. And we're going to talk about why a local election is important. As the host of All Politics is Local, I've always said the most important election that you can vote in is your local election. Tara and I were just talking. Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, George Bush, we can name all the presidents. They're really not going to change your life. But a school committee member could change how your children grow up. A selectman could change the price, the home value of your house. That's why I think the local elections are the most important elections. Tara, what's your thoughts on local elections as well?
Well, I've always been the one that believed that you should vote in every election that you can, as long as you're a registered voter. I mean, especially with the fact that there's so many people out there in the world that they actually die in order to get a vote. Mm-hmm. And and they have over the past. And I think it's incumbent upon us as citizens of the United States to just show what our ancestors couldn't do, and that was to vote. Especially the women out there, they couldn't vote. So now that you have the right to vote, I think you should vote. But on the local level, that's where you see the most change, and that's where you can make the most changes, is in the local election. And I know that some people say that they like the status quo and whatnot, but even if you like the status quo, you should still just go out and vote for them. They still had to go get their signatures. They still had to be on the ballot. They still had to do all this. So you go out and you either applaud because you like them, or you applaud because it's over.
Because
those are the only two options there should be. And it shouldn't be any, it should be all just a very calming experience. We've obviously still in the COVID. We've got signs everywhere. We've got plastic and whatnot. We're very careful with this. We have the mask. We don't have to wear it in here. But and we want people to know that it's safe. And because of the fact that we have a shorter area to work in at the school, and that the children are now in school full time, it's just more important to get out here so we're not disrupting them. Because we didn't have enough time to change anything. because we didn't know what was going on. So it's important to us to, to help the voters, let them understand that, we work with them, we work for them, this is what we do. And we're trying to make it happy and healthy for them. We don't want anybody to get sick, so we were trying to, so it's going to be a very small window. That's why we offered early voting. And the select board, excuse me, agreed with that, and then just said that, we thought that in offering a couple of days of early voting, they thought it would be easier, but we're only seeing 60 plus people come through the door, and it's really kind of,
You think it's a little bit of COVID apathy, or just people are done with COVID?
I think it's just 2020 apathy.
Yeah.
It could be the COVID. It could be just the fact that people are they're just tired of hearing about it, and I don't blame them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, it's been a lot. I mean, we have been going nonstop since February last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like every single month we've got something else going on.
Yep.
And then we still have another, I mean, this is our only scheduled election in 2021. But then again, we have town meeting, we have at least one annual, and then perhaps a special one. But
and when's town meeting going to be? It's going to be in...
I don't, as of right now, it's
Okay.
going to be Saturday, June 12th. But
Saturday, June
I don't
12th.
hold, it's not
Right.
set in stone.
It's not set in stone,
We're
but
still
that's a
trying to
tentative
work
date,
it
right.
out with the school, and and they're at the front of the helm, and let them try to figure it out, and they'll let us know, and I'll let you folks know right away, and as to what's going on, so that they can get out, register to vote and whatnot. But as of right now, the deadline to register to vote for the June 12th is next Friday night. So somebody will be here 2 to 4, and then 7 to 8 next Friday. Jim
to
Morrissey
register.
is going to be here
To register
to
for
register
town.
to vote,
To
if they're
register
not
for
registered already. Yeah,
People
or you
have
can do
to
it online.
understand that the town clerk, without the town clerk, the elections wouldn't happen. And all the people that work on election day in the gym, they don't make a lot of money. They're doing it out of the labor of love.
And they volunteer too.
And they're volunteer, and it's, so local elections are important. I always say, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. And I think you brought up a good point. If you're running for the school committee, board of selectmen, planning board, they're non-compensated positions. You do it because you love your town. And the best way you can honor those people
Yes.
is to either vote for them or vote them out of office.
Exactly.
So those are your
Exactly.
choices. Tara, thanks for taking a couple minutes to
Thank
tell us
you.
why it's important for the
Not a
election.
problem, anytime.
And we're back to election night coverage.
Welcome back. We're glad you're still with us. So coming up next, we have two distinguished guests. We'll be talking with Yolanda Greaves and Rob Shearer, who have both, according to our unofficial results, won re-election to the select board here in Ashland. Of course, we're here with my venerable co-host, John Featherston, too, but we're going to cut right to the chase and talk to Rob Shearer because this is live TV and he's in transit. So Rob, congratulations on your re-election.
Well, thank you so much, Makita. And, thank you to all my supporters and the voters of Ashland for returning me for a third term in this century and actually one other term in the 20th century. So I hate to date myself, but I'm really thrilled to be back and looking forward to another 3 years of work and getting things done for the town of Ashland.
Rob, thanks. So in your opinion, Rob, what are some of the things that you'd like to see the select board, get right back to work on, some of the important issues that are facing the town right now?
I'm sorry, did you ask about the issues?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So as you can see, we're traveling here, the miracles of modern technology. Yes, I would say, we're still, some of the things that first motivated me, we're still working on, which is as Ashland, how to protect our quality of life as Ashland approaches build out, and what things do we want to save for open space, how to provide for affordable housing, how to keep an efficient government going with a good, strong financial base, quality schools. But my personal focus has been on sustainability issues, open space, and recently the Eversource pipeline expansion has been a big issue, which I want to continue working on that, opposing that, and listen until they make a strong case, which they haven't done, and work on sustainability issues and keep progressing on the Upper Charles Trail, which is a great project, all while maintaining some of the great other things that we've been doing as as a community, such as the downtown revitalization, Route 126, public safety building, and the other, the Mendez expansion, of course. So there's a lot of things going on, and I'm pleased to be able to continue to work on those.
Nice.
Rob, we're going to let you go because I'm getting a little concerned about the strength of your signal. But John, do you have any questions for Rob before we let him continue his travels?
Well, Rob, it's been a great week. Your daughter just graduated college. You guys are coming back, and just, you know, kudos to you and congratulations on re-electing. And more importantly, thank you for serving the community of Ashland, and best of luck to you.
Thank you. And I think congratulations to Yolanda as well, right? And did I hear that we have a new school committee member as well? Or
that is correct.
I do.
That's
oh,
correct.
great.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well, thank you. Thank you and take care.
Drive safe.
Bye.
Thank you, Rob.
Bye,
Taylor,
Rob. See you
just,
tomorrow.
Re-elected to the select board here in Ashland. And now we get to turn our attention and our sights to Yolanda Greaves. Congratulations. Congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you, Makita. Excited and thankful for the voters to, as Rob said, you know, put me back in the seat for 3 more years to continue doing all the great work and all the needed work for the town.
Yolanda, I have to ask you about your priorities as you see them for the town going forward.
Yeah, for me, transportation has been a big one. So the Route 126 project, certainly continuing to get the information out to our residents as that happens. It is one of those projects that, yes, it's happening in our town, but it is a state and federally funded project. So we are pulling as much information out of the state as we can and trying to get that to our residents. Of course, also the downtown project, making sure that keeps moving forward, finding different ways to help fund that project. And then the public safety building and the Mendez project. So similar things that Rob has said that he's looking to continue on. What's nice that I find with our current select board is we all have different areas that we try to focus on. So for Rob, the sustainability has been a big portion. For me, it's the transportation. And I'm going to look at continuing to improve our communication with our residents.
Excellent. John, I'll ask you to jump in here.
Well, you know, it's great. I mean, Yolanda, I remember meeting Yolanda back when she was on the school committee, and you know, you've served your town with great honor, and I appreciate the fact that anybody steps up to do, you know, community service. So congratulations to you, and it sounds like you know, it's got to be a rewarding time to, you know, be on the select board as you come out of a pandemic, and hopefully, you know, better days are ahead of us, and with all of your efforts on the 126 project, it's going to be nice to see, you know, some good come out of, you know, the last couple, you know, year and a half of kind of doom and gloom. So congratulations.
Thank you. I think we've been very fortunate here in town. We have such a great staff that has planned and worked in regards to the pandemic. They were able to turn around pretty quickly and help our residents and help our businesses. And that is going to be important as we now transition out of the pandemic. What are things that we can continue? I know I'm going to look at what we can do for our restaurants so that they can continue their outdoor areas for seating, because there are going to be people who are not quite comfortable to go back into the restaurants yet. So we'll reach out to the state and the ABCC and work with them to ensure that we can continue the outdoor dining that so many people are enjoying, as well as what can we do with our state government to make sure that we can continue some of the remote participation that has been happening. We've seen a great influx of people participating in our meetings because they can just sign on to Zoom. They don't have to come down to town hall, and they can be listening and then participate when it's, you know, the portion of the meeting that they're interested in. So there's some work that'll need to be done to do that. I would think that once all of us on the select board are vaccinated and things open up, we'll be looking to go back to our in-person at the select board meeting room. But how can we continue that engagement? And that'll be something I've already asked town staff and reached out to other towns to see how they're doing it so that we can continue to improve the engagement that we've had even during the pandemic.
I'm so glad to hear that, Yolanda, because that's an issue that's been coming up, that came up before the pandemic, and the fact that you're committed to making sure that there's that access to the select board and to be able to participate is really critical and key. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the select board comes up with outreach and with participation and such. I do want to give you the chance, Yolanda, to let folks know What's the best way for folks to be engaging with the select board at this point? You mentioned Zoom, but what are some other ways that residents can engage with town government right now?
So right now, one of the best ways is email, selectboard@ashlandmass.com. Every single select board member gets that email, as well as our town manager and our assistant. That is the cleanest way. Or pick up a phone or email us individually. Mine is ygreaves@ashlandmass.com. And I've had residents email me directly, and if I have the correct information, I try to respond to them as quickly as possible. Sometimes I need to work with town staff to get the information because I don't have it either at my fingertips or it's something that they're working on for us. And the phone book. My number's in the book, and I believe all of us are. If you see us on the street, feel free to stop and have a conversation, because those are the best ways. We are on social media, but that's not an official way, unfortunately, for us to be aware of what's going on.
It's a really good point, Yolanda. A tweet is not an official a means to conduct official town business.
I reminded people that the polls closed at 7 via Twitter today, but because of open meeting law and other rules and regulations and what we have to be careful of, it's not the best way to say, hey, there's something going on. So,
well, good luck, Yolanda. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you to the voters. I want to say congratulations to the other candidates who have won, and thank you to everyone who ran, knowing you don't always win, and hopefully those who were not elected will stay involved, because that's what we need. We need more involvement, as we saw with the numbers. I mean, I appreciate everyone who came out to vote, but when you have less than 10% of your people voting, we need to work on that.
Yes. Yes.
Could not agree more. Yolanda Greaves, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, and congratulations again on your victory. Coming up next.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Zoom, what are you going to do? Coming up next, we have a really fun segment about what's happening at the Corner Spot this summer. I had a chance to sit down with Beth Reynolds, Economic Development Director here in Ashland. There is so much going on. Stay tuned if you want to find out what's going on at Corner Spot, or if you want to hold an event at Corner Spot. So after that, we'll have a conversation with our school committee candidates. So stay right there. Hi, we're here to talk about what's going on this summer in Ashland with Ashland's very own Economic Development Director, Beth Reynolds. Hi, Beth. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, thanks for having me today. I'm really excited to be talking with you.
Well, we're pumped to have you too, because we want to find out what's going on in Ashland this summer, and specifically what's going on down at the Corner Spot. So Beth, for some of our viewers who may not be familiar, what is the Corner Spot?
Sure. The Corner Spot is a great outdoor gathering place. It was designed and built 4 years ago, and it has been sort of the place to be in the summer, on the weekends. We have businesses pop up there. It's just a great place to hang out on the porch swings, at the dining tables that we have there. And then there's a nice little kids play area. So everyone is welcome. We like to call it Ashland's backyard. So anyone in town can enjoy it at their leisure. It's just become a really nice gathering place for everyone.
Beth, can you tell the folks where Ashland's backyard is?
Sure. It's at 6 Cherry Street. It's located just a couple doors down from Town Hall, right on the corner of Pleasant Street and Main Street. Can't miss it.
Awesome. Beth, now we know last year, because of COVID, a lot of community activities were either syncopated or just canceled altogether. But this summer, it sounds like the Corner Spot is back. Can you tell us what's going on down there this summer?
Yeah, unfortunately, we did take a summer off just for safety precautions. It just seemed too difficult with the ever-changing regulations that were COVID. So, but this year, it seems like everyone's getting their vaccines, things are loosening up, and we follow the state guidelines to the T. So really, we felt that it was safe to open up this year. It's an outdoor area. Everything is outdoors except for the small shed. There's a restroom there that will be open again to the public as well for events. So we really feel like this is good to do. People need to get back together, and this is a great spot to do that.
So what are some of the events that are planned for the Corner Spot this summer? I mean, it sounds like a wonderful opportunity for us to reconnect with our friends and neighbors.
Oh, definitely. We actually have a mingle coming up, a Meet Your Neighbor mingle, which is actually a great way to start, I guess, all the events that are going on here. So on May 21st, we're asking people to come down and just meet your neighbor, where there's a lot of new people that have moved into town with the housing market so high. So we'd like to meet everyone, and they can meet our leadership and they can meet other neighbors as well. So that will be kicking off in May. We've got a beer garden coming in May and June. They'll be back twice. We've got food trucks that will be there, music. So there's definitely going to be some activity around that. The library is actually taking this opportunity to be outside. So they're going to be doing a few things throughout the summer months as well, in spring. Lois, I know everybody must know Lois over at the Ashland Public Library, but she's going to be having story time there Wednesdays through the spring and the summer, which is nice. And then another feature for the kids is the Moms Club actually is doing Tot Spot there, which is a great time for them. They all get together, the moms connect, the kids have activities, and those are every Thursday in the months of July and August from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's a lot of fun. It's the best time to see the Corner Spot. It's just full of life, so it's great. We also do open mic nights every Tuesday night with Danny Silverman. He's a staple in our community. He's been there for years now, so he'll be there as well. And then we have our typical, our annual events. Culture Fest is a great event, July 24th. We have opening day event on June 5th to kick off the season, which is filled with, food trucks and music, and then Fall Fest to wrap it up in October. And then On the Spot Shop too, where we allow women in business to pop up their businesses, to sell their products. It's a fun night of shopping and networking in the community. So, and then of course our movie night with WACA, which I'm sure that we'll get that out to everyone not to miss.
Beth, the Corner Spot sounds like not just an incredible way for the community to connect, but also a way for businesses to get launched, be seen. There's just so many great things about it. I'm just curious for folks who might be watching, if you're talking about all these events, how can they showcase their business or showcase their organization down at the Corner Spot? What do folks have to do that?
Sure. So if anyone wants to pop up in the shed, we call it the shed, it's just a small little business incubator. So any business can pop up there to market their business, to try out a new product, to really test drive the market. That's really what it was intended for. So people can go right to the website, thecornerspotashland.com, and they just click on a link for an application, and they submit that. We do have availability in the shed. We have had some interest. I think people are a little leery getting back to it this year. I think things are happening within that part very slowly. We do have Anju B coming in June though. She will be popping up, and she sells women's apparel, bathing suits, and leggings imported from Brazil. So it's a great product. So she's really trying to jumpstart her business. And anybody can really do that. All they have to do is contact me or go right to the website to do that.
And Beth, just give that website one more time. What website can they go to again?
Sure, it's thecornerspotashland.com. You can also find it on ashlandmass.com as well.
Beth Reynolds, Economic Development Director of our fair town. Thank you so much for joining us and letting us know what's going on this summer in Ashland.
Great, look forward to seeing you downtown.
It's 8:30 on Tuesday, May 18th, Election Day here in Ashland. You're watching live coverage of the WACA Election Night Recap. Makita, we've got some exciting guests here. We've got a new member of the school committee. Why don't you take the honors?
Well, yes. So we have a new member of the school committee that is just newly elected this evening, Tina Fantanides. Did I say that correctly?
You did, yeah.
Yes. Congratulations, Tina.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything you'd like to say to your voters this evening, Tina?
Yeah, I just would love to thank everybody for their support. The excitement and enthusiasm around my campaign has been really exciting and humbling for me, and I really appreciate the support of everybody that came out to vote today. And I'd also like to extend thanks to both Mark and Kathy for a great race. I think we had some opportunity to have some really great conversations. I admire the work that both of them have done. And I really, appreciate the opportunity that the voters have given me to have a seat on the school committee.
Thanks, Tina. I do want to acknowledge that we do have Kathy Bates and Mark Terry with us this evening as well. So I do want to throw it over to Kathy, though. So I just want to say thank you, Kathy, for your 9 years of service on our school committee and your dedication to public service and making sure that school committee issues have been addressed in town all of those years. And even though you did not win re-election, I think the town is very grateful that you were able to put your time and talent towards the town of Ashland, this endeavor. So,
yeah, well, thank you, Makita. Yeah, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, I'm disappointed I didn't win, but that's okay. I served 9 years. I think I made an impact, and I'm honored to have served on the leadership team and, trying to do what's best for our students. But change is good. So I'm glad it's great that Tina won. We have somebody new on the board, and Mark is going to continue on with his great work. And it's a great committee, and I'm sure great things are going to continue to be happening. But I am honored, and I thank everyone that did come out and vote for me. I appreciate everyone's support. But I'm ready to pass on the baton. So I'll be watching and seeing how all the good stuff that the school committee continues to do. And thanks again. I appreciate it. Thank you, Ashland.
But Kathy, 9 years on the school committee. I mean, the Ashland community can't thank you enough for the commitment. 9 years on the school committee is, you don't want to relate it to dog years, but it's a big commitment. People who haven't served in public office or on the school committee have no idea the work ethic that you have to have. So thank you for your commitment to the town of Ashland over the years.
Thank you, wonderful. John. I appreciate that.
You were positive, so thank you. And welcome Tina as well.
John McKee, if I could just chime in as Kathy's colleague for the last 6 years. I've obviously had the opportunity to work with her closely for all those 6 years, and this past year we've spent a lot more time together, at least by Zoom. But every other week, meetings after meetings, and I want Kathy to have the opportunity to reflect on some of the things that have been accomplished with her help on the school committee. When she joined on, I think the school committee was not necessarily a unified group. With her on the committee, I think we certainly have gelled well, and certainly welcome Tina's new perspective and that. But I want to take a minute just to acknowledge Kathy's work. And during her time, with the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee adopted financial policies that have made our budgeting process far more effective for everybody in town. We've hired a new superintendent who I think is almost uniformly praised as a leader within our community. Kathy had a hand in that. Kathy has been involved in the policy development of our school committee for the last several years, has been a part of seeing a new building come online soon. And so there's just a lot of things that Kathy has contributed to during her time on the school committee. And I will miss you, Kathy, having you on the committee. I thank you for your friendship, for your team, for being such a great teammate and colleague, and certainly wish you the best in school committee retirement.
And if I could chime in as well too, because Kathy, you have served our town so incredibly well. And I know that, there are very big dedicated shoes to fill. And I look forward to coming to the school committee. And I just want to say thank you for all of the time and effort that you've put in to making our district as successful as it is. And I look forward to, kind of continuing work on many of the initiatives that you helped to start. So thank you for all of the work that you've done.
Wow. Thank you, Tina. Thank you both, Mark and Tina, for those kind words. I appreciate it. And John, thank you too. It's been my honor. 9 years, I guess that is a long time. So I'm happy to have served, and I'll just try to figure out what's my next step. I'll just take a little relaxation and see what will I do with my free time now. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
And Mark, before we are remiss, we do want to acknowledge your reelection. So congratulations.
Thank you, Makita.
For another term on the school committee. You mentioned some of the initiatives that you had worked on throughout the years, and I asked select board members in the previous interview the same questions, but going forward, in your opinion, what are some of the priorities that you see the school committee tackling within the next cycle?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, and I think the most immediate future, it's really trying to get kids back on track after COVID. You know, there's been a lot of learning loss, interruption. You know, we're going to have further conversations about how to best use the federal stimulus funds, they call the ESSER money, to really try to help kids who've fallen behind, who've struggled in one way or another. I think our commitment to the mental health of students is critical. And, you know, I don't know that we've yet been able to figure out, really identify how significant that impact has been. So I think, you know, we're really going to be focused on those kind of things in the most immediate future. In the long term, sure, it's going to be exciting to see a new building come online in 2023. You know, that certainly is, I think, a major step forward for the community. And I think we've got a lot of other work going on right now that is aimed at improving the education that our kids are receiving. Some of that's curricular work, some of that's social emotional work. Some of that is really moving forward with the anti-racist education model that we've been working on this year at the high school, and we'll be looking to expand throughout the district over the coming years. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us.
Indeed, you do. And I do want to commend current and former members of the school committee on their work during COVID and the things that you managed to get done and the things that you will hopefully continue to manage to do. No small challenge. And being a parent of a student in Ashland Public Schools, I can see and appreciate the work that the school committee, the school community, the town in general has done to keep us together as we come out of this horrible crisis. Tina, I'm going to ask you the same question. You're new to the board, but what do you see as some of the priorities going forward as we emerge from this pandemic?
Absolutely. You know, I think Mark laid out, some of the biggest ones, obviously, as you just mentioned, as we kind of continue to go through all of the stages of COVID, right? And as we're hopefully coming out of, the worst of it, really paying attention to and adjusting to what our students need. You know, I think there's, obviously, there are a lot that I'll have to learn in terms of some of the specifics of the funding that may be coming to the district and in those types of things. But I'm definitely, kind of excited to be a part of the work going forward. I think addressing our student needs, both from an academic and social emotional perspective, are some of the most important. And then obviously, there are class sizes, there's the very important anti-racist work that the district is working on, and a host of different issues in terms of curriculum and how we're teaching our kids and making sure that Ashland continues to be the top-notch district that it is.
Indeed. And John, I'm sorry, here I am asking all the questions again.
No, jump in. As always, you do such a good job out of it. I just stay out of your way. But you brought it up. I know Mark has led the initiative, and Tina, you brought it up a little bit. The anti-racism issue. How do you guys plan to implement that? Is that going to be a slow stage process, or is that something you're going to kick off next calendar year? I think it's an important, value for the community. So maybe a little update on, for the community on it.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about what's been going on this year.
Please.
I mean, last summer, it was the school committee voted to sort of start this work in earnest. It really has been going on most of the school year at the high school. We've retained a top-notch consultant that's been working with the high school staff to start to implement. And honestly, most of that work has really been led by our administrative team. It was something that we had talked about at a policy level, but honestly, I think I may have said this, John, when you interviewed me before. It wasn't something the school committee really, I think, had a good beat on what we were doing, and we got a report, I would say in February or March, from the folks that are working on that really helped me understand that we're making progress. That we're looking at the works that are being taught and making sure they represent the diversity of our student body. That's certainly something that's been ongoing. But I think we're in the infancy of that work. Certainly one of the things that we will be talking about over the summer is what is the school committee's role in that? You know, because again, we've kind of set a policy and say, go do it. But I think we need to have a more visible role in leading that conversation as a community, because it's something that to be successful, the community needs to buy into. So, you know, I think there's a lot to be determined in terms of how are we going to implement that. In fact, there's a program being put on by the MASC that I'm involved in next Monday, where we're going to hear from some school districts that have done more work than we have to try to learn from them. So it's not something that's going to be you know, sort of dealt with in May, June. It's going to be something that's going to be from 2021 to 2029, probably to think about where we'd want to be, and then it'll be morphing from there, I'm sure, for forever.
I do want to acknowledge, Mark, that I know that there have been several members of the community and community groups that have approached the school committee and the school department about active anti-racism education and those efforts. And, you know, I think the town, you know, especially in light of last year's events, has really taken note and has been responsive to that. So I do want to acknowledge that as well. And I think there are a lot of folks in town who are very interested to see how that all unfolds and how that impacts the community. It's interesting. I think that, you know, sometimes you don't think of it, but, you know, Ashland is actually a pretty diverse town, you know, in a lot of different ways, ethnically, socially, economically, you know, and, you know, the more education that we have around being able to communicate better with each other and appreciate each other's backgrounds, you know, I think the more successful not only our kids will be, but our community will be. So I will definitely be interested in a lot of the efforts coming from the school committee and other parts of the town on that effort. So
and I do want to acknowledge, that Tina's been involved with AREA, one of the groups I think you're referring to, and working with that long before she decided to run. I think long before she started running for school committee, and has been very engaged in that work as well. But I think the partnership we're trying to form and have been forming with AREA has been really valuable. Got a lot of great insight and perspective, and I look forward to that continuing.
Can I just ask a real quick? I mean, you mostly on the high school level. What's the feedback from the students been? I know this year's been challenging because of Zoom and everything, but I'm dying to hear what the feedback from the young adults is.
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. I don't know that I have a lot of information on that. I've participated in one program that the school did. It was a sort of a common movie viewing, and it was put on by a number of the kids. Honestly, the participation wasn't great in terms of numbers. It was a really great discussion. Excuse me, but you know, I think we're going to be looking at all that kind of feedback probably at the end of the year. I don't know if there's a desire to do some sort of, you know, assessment of what do kids think. I certainly think that feedback is critical, and it's, you know, we have to acknowledge that it is it's a change. You know, the things that we're talking about are new. And so it's really important that we move at a pace that allows feedback, allows for reflection, but keeps moving forward as well. And, you know, I have no doubt that there are members of the community, I've certainly heard from some that are concerned about it, and concerned about, you know, they have a different view of some things, and that's something we have to be mindful of. But I certainly think it's a great question, John, and I don't think we have a lot of direct feedback yet. But hopefully at the end of the year, we'll be able to get something.
Well, it's what makes Ashland great, is, you know, having guys like you and ladies like you that, you know, are identifying a big opportunity for it. So thank you for doing that. And, you know, looking forward to hearing more feedback on it. So congratulations.
Thank you, John.
So I think we're coming up on time, John.
I think you're right.
I think we need to thank our illustrious guests for joining us here on election night. So Kathy Bates, thank you very much. Mark Terry, thank you very much. Tina Fontanides, thank you very much. I got it. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And John, do you want to, maybe we should recap the unofficial results and wrap it up a little bit and let people know but they shouldn't hang up. They shouldn't close out after we finish telling the results, because we have one more video treat coming up. But I'll let you.
Well, just to recap the day for election day, and and I think maybe you and I will talk about this a little bit later, Makita. But 866 total votes today. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit about that later. Maybe even grumble a little bit about it. But Rob Scheer and Yolanda Greaves are returning to the Board of Selectmen. Mark is going back to the school committee. Once again, welcome Tina back to the school committee. KG Narayan pulled out a rather close re-election to the Board of Health. Steve Greenberg's been re-elected to the Board of Assessors. Congratulations, Mr. Greenberg, another longtime public servant as well. And Claire Gross and Linda Ween are back on the Library of Trustees. I know there were a couple write-in candidates because we have an official votes for the Housing Authority. So overall, democracy spoke. It spoke well in the town of Ashland. And congratulations to everybody. And thank you for everybody for watching us tonight.
Now, John, before people close out our coverage, we have one more video. I think you might want to introduce that, because you did a wonderful segment that the people should watch.
Yeah, we had an opportunity to talk to about some events and a local caterer in Ashland and with the Corner Spot. We'll bring you that video right now.
As part of our continuing coverage for the WACA Ashland Town election coverage, we're talking to a small business owner, Sente from Sente's Kitchen. Thanks for coming on the program with us today. Talk a little bit about your business. Yeah. We're featuring small businesses, for the election, as we come out of the pandemic here, hopefully, fingers crossed, as we come back to, you're running a small business, a catering business out of Ashland. And talk to the viewers a little bit about your business and what you offer.
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Sente, and I have a catering business that focuses mostly on barbecue. And I do African barbecue, which is primarily using spices from East Africa, because I'm from Uganda. So we do ribs, we do chicken wings, we do smoked goat, we smoke pigs, beef, steak, and some sides like, yuca fries, which is like potato fries, but it's like a root, so it's a little different. Coleslaw, we do like some salsa using different ingredients. And I primarily do pop-ups. I work, I do the Ashland Farmers Market. I do barbecues, I do weddings, I do baby showers, all types of events.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So what have been some of the challenges that you faced during a pandemic running a catering business?
I think in the beginning it was tough because like when March hit, like everyone canceled. Like I had weddings canceled from March till December. And then after a while it picked up, and now it's really busy, and most of my weekends are booked. I have back-to-back events. I have events Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so it's kind of hard keeping up and getting staff because there's not too many people available right now to work. To help serve, to help cook. So it's kind of been tough keeping up with the demand. So sometimes I've had to cancel gigs, or maybe have somebody else take that event because I'm not fully equipped to handle that capacity if I have 2 or 3 events on the same day. But it's been picking up right now.
So you're challenged by the fact that people are being paid a little bit more to stay home than they are to be getting back to work. But as the economy reopens up, your phone is ringing, but you might not actually necessarily have enough help. So that's the challenge that you're going to have. Do you foresee that working itself out, or you think it's going to be a challenging next couple of months for you?
I think it might take a while because now with like the summer coming up, hopefully, depending on what the government does with the benefits, it might, people might be forced to come back and get these jobs. Otherwise, like I've had to do stuff like from like beginning to end, prep, cook, and serve because I'm not having that many people. So hopefully, in a few months it picks up and people come back to work.
So talk a little bit about your story, because I think it's a good story. How did a guy come to Ashland and open up an African barbecue place?
So I grew up in Uganda, in East Africa, and then I moved here with my family. My mom, she moved us, my brothers, from Uganda to here about 15 years ago. So I did high school in Burlington High School, and then I went to college at Babson, and then did my MBA at Babson as well. But then my passion has been cooking. So like I've loved cooking, so making that transition from doing like a 9-to-5 to doing this full time has been a challenge for me. But I'm hoping that soon I will be able to make that transition and do this full time, because like I love cooking. Like I can wake up at like 5 a.m. and cook all day and not get tired.
Really?
Because it's an art. You're curating different meals. they might come to you, you know, can you do my wedding? And then you help them with their menu, and then you work out different items. So like that's like, it feels good giving back, you know, to people and having them, you know, have like a good event. So that kind of is my passion and my drive.
So that's great. So you've got your master's degree from one of the best business schools in America.
Yep.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah,
you must have been very popular on campus with your roommates and stuff with the cooking and everything.
I used to cook a lot, at school.
You used to grill a lot at school?
I did, yeah.
Good.
I did.
So, you know, when you hear your typical, you know, masters in business from, you know, a great school like Babson, what was your passion? You know, you could have gone different avenues in business, but you went more towards the cooking because it's a labor of love, or is it?
So my passion actually was accounting growing up.
Okay.
It was accounting. Like I loved math because it made sense. Like 1 + 1 = 2, right? Versus like a liberal arts, you know, like you're at an essay, they might love it or not love it, but like in accounting it made sense. And I guess the same thing with food. You know, it's more, you know, about like having like a dish, and then you start from the beginning till the end, and you see how it grows and how you can grow your menu and add more items to it. So I just love putting stuff together, and I think food is a way to like even maybe like tell my story about my journey, you know. So when you see African barbecue, you know, you might think it's some crazy strange thing, but like I buy my meat from the same place my next guy buys their meat from, so it's the same food, but my twist will be my recipes and how like my mom and my dad taught me how to cook, because my dad is a chef back in Uganda, so he taught me how to cook, and so did my mom, rest in peace. So, you know, so like I took all those and then I made it my own and created these different items. You know, like I make samosas, which are like meat pies, but those came from India. Like, you know, back in the day, like the Indians came across, you know, the ocean into East Africa. So they gave us the different spices. So we took those and made them our own. So like, that's what I do. Like I get like a different menu item, then I create it and make it my own and have a different twist to it that makes it unique.
Good for you. That's a great story. So talk to me about a signature dish at Senti's Kitchen.
So I have quite a few of them, but I guess what I would say is probably like my ribs. Like I smoke my ribs for like probably 8 hours, and I have like a honey twist to it. So my barbecue is not gonna be the same as you would see like at a different, like a southern barbecue. Like, you know, like we have different size. Like I said, we have yuca fries versus potato salad, you know, because we're not really big on potato salad, or, you know, we might have like a different coleslaw. So I can mix coleslaw and pico de gallo and just mix the cabbage and the tomatoes and have the different things we saw. I think my most popular thing has been the ribs, because like they have like that smoky flavor, because I use different woods and, you know, different charcoal, and the time that I spend grilling it and serving it with like a honey glaze on it. Because like the thing is, like most African cuisines aren't really sweet. So like, when I came here, I noticed like, you know, many dishes are sweet, but we know like in Africa it's more salty and spicy, right? So like getting that blend and making, you know, both sweet and spicy at the same time is what's really popular in my menu.
Now, are people going to be able to find you at the farmers market here this year?
Yes, yep. I've done the farmers market before, and I've done the Ashland Corner Spot before. I had an event that I did last Saturday for the Ashland Dog Park event. So like it was a fundraising. So I had my ribs. I had smoked chicken wings. I had samosas, both beef and veggie samosas. I had yuca fries and some coleslaw and some tea, African tea, which has like ginger and some African spices, and like it was well received. And I love Ashland because it's pretty diverse. We have like a bunch of different people from different backgrounds, and they really appreciate a mixture of different foods, and really been receptive to my menu.
You must have been a hit with the dogs too.
Yeah, they love the smell. Yeah,
they must have loved the smell.
They did.
So talk to the people, how they can learn more. You know, pitch the website, give out a phone number.
www.Senti's Kitchen. So SENTIES kitchen.com. The number is 508-372-5516. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Senti's Kitchen.
Check him out. He's a good guy. And we'll get back to election night coverage right here on WACA television.
Thank you.
Hi, we're back. John and I have decided to come back for a few more minutes to just recap the results and talk a little bit about the election in Ashland, as we usually do when we're on the desk together before. So John, why don't we take a look at those results again and kind of deconstruct them a little bit. So what are those numbers?
Hot off the presses of the unofficial results of the May election here in Ashland, Yolanda Greaves and Rob Scheer are returning to the Board of Selectmen, so congratulations to them. So we're going to have them back on the Board of Selectmen, and we do have a new member of the school committee. Tina has been elected, and Mark Terry is going to be returning, and they defeated Kathy Bates. Kathy served on the town for 9 years, so congratulations to her. I erroneously spoke earlier, and we do have 3 new members of the Ashland Board of Health. KG's coming back, Narayana, for his 3rd term on the board, and Bernadette Luntkus was elected as well. And Barbara Segunda Simone has been elected to fill the 2-year seat on the Board of Health. So congratulations to her. It's a board that's near and dear to me, so thank you for doing that. Steve Greenberg's coming back as one of the town assessors, and Claire Gross and Linda Ween are coming back for the Library of Trustees. And we had multiple write-ins for the Housing Authority, so maybe we can come back later and announce an eventual winner for that. But overall, Makita, 866 people out of over 11,000 registered voters. Yes, we do have a worldwide pandemic, but we did have mail-in voting. We did have early voting. 866 people deciding the fate of Ashland out of 11,000 plus registered voters. Not a good number. Not a good number.
I gotta concur with you, John. It's not a good look. You know, I think in years past, I feel like we've had this conversation before, and we're sort of in this electoral Groundhog Day situation where we're just constantly reminding folks that, to your point and to your show's point, all politics is local. Quick story. I was talking to a fellow Ashland resident today, encouraging them to vote. I actually talked to a few people. A couple people weren't even aware that there was an election going on. And I'm glad to say that they did get themselves educated and up to speed quick, and they went down to the polls towards the end of the day. Another person I spoke to, interesting, John, they were just like, well, I mean, this election doesn't really impact me. And I'm like, what do you mean this election doesn't impact you? They're like, well, it's not a statewide and it's not a federal. And I said, listen, do you care about the quality of the schools here? Do you care about the qualities? Do you care about how the town is run? Do you care about your library? Do you care about, you know, town services? Because if those things impact you, and I know they do, this election is critical, arguably maybe even more impactful than a state or federal election, because you have a direct voice and direct outcomes that are tied to your participation. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, John.
Well, I mean, it's where you raise your family. It's where your parents live. It's where your friends live. You know, United States president, United States senator, can they change your life? Yeah, they can. But do they have the direct impact on you the day to day? No, but your board of selectmen does. Your school committee does. Your planning board does as well. You know, they can all make decisions that can increase your property value, ruin your property value, your quality of roads, your quality of life. If you're not voting in your local elections, you know, you're doing a disservice to your friends and family. I mean, just quite candidly. I mean, you could, every vote matters, and you should always vote in every presidential election and so forth. But if you're not voting in your town election, you're doing your town a disfavor. And more importantly, you're not respecting the people on the ballot. You know, you can agree with them or disagree with them. And if you disagree with them, vote them out of office. But the way that you can compliment them is by going to the polls and thanking them for being a volunteer, because selectmen don't get paid. School committee members do not get paid. Planning board don't get paid. Board of Health, they do not get, they're volunteer positions, and they can impact your life. I've sat in those seats before, and you make decisions that can affect your community positively and negatively. And what are we talking here? 866 out of 11,000 registered voters. If you didn't vote, I don't want to see you on social media complaining about, you know, what the board of selectmen did or the school committee did if you didn't vote, because, you know, shame on you. You know, I mean, I know it's harsh and some people aren't going to agree with what you and I are saying, but it is the reality.
You know, John, you know, you and I sometimes we approach things sometimes from different ideological spectrum, but this is something we both very much agree with, and you know, it's a huge point of frustration and actually kind of anger with me too. You know, to your point, there are a lot of people who get on social, they get on the Facebook groups on town, they complain about what's happening, but do they get to the polls? Do they attend public meetings? I mean, you know, earlier during our election coverage, we heard from select board, we heard from some other folks about, I think it's specifically select board, about how there are efforts being made to make town meetings or not town meetings specifically, but like town meetings for different boards more accessible so that we can get participation up. We know
engagement,
engagement. They're trying to increase engagement. They're actively trying to do this because, as we all know, sometimes it is hard to get to town meeting, depending on your work schedule, or if you have kids, or if, those things can go late, but I think that if anything, this pandemic has taught us with the flexibility of, mail-in voting and, virtual meeting attendance, I think folks are kind of running out of excuses.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't participate, you don't have a say. And if you're really concerned about what's happening in town, you've got to roll up your sleeves and do it. I mean, I forgot who said this as well, but I mean, it's a community effort, whether you're talking about the schools or select board, library, or planning board, whatever. This is a community effort. It's a collective effort with our community. We are in the driver's seat. We determine our fate. But when only 866 people show up,
mm-hmm.
Whose voices are being heard? I mean, whose voices are not being heard?
There's so much more access to voting now than there was even when I served on the Board of Selectmen. There was no early voting. There was no mail-in voting. There's no excuse. There's no excuse,
But John, I'm trying to think, like, what is it going to take? What is it going to take to get people? I mean, maybe this might be actually a good show that you and I could do at some point. We should get
I think it's a great idea.
Who are not enrolled, who don't participate in town elections, because rather than sitting up here and tearing our hair out, I actually want to find out like what the real barriers are. And there may be some concerns. I do think that a lot of folks may not really understand, like seriously, may not understand what happens at the municipal level and the kinds of decisions that are made. They may actually think that that kind of stuff is decided up at the State House and Beacon Hill, or maybe even a federal decision. I don't think that a lot of people know that a lot of that control is right here in Ashland, So, I mean, I'd love to talk to a couple of voters that, who didn't participate and really find out why not, and how we could maybe get more folks involved. Maybe that's part of this. Maybe we could be part of the solution, John. What do you say?
Well, I mean, we can't complain. We have to do something about it. So I think it's a great idea that, maybe we'll get together and we'll do a show about it and, talk about it, because 7% of Ashland's registered voters spoke tonight. And that's not acceptable because there's so many great things going on in town. The 126 project, the new school being built, the new public safety built, the new downtown revitalization, the power of the farmers market, the community garden still going on. We've got a dog park being discussed. There's so many great things going on in town, great, schools. There's a lot to brag about with Ashland, but at the end of the day, there's still work to be done.
Right.
And 7% of the voters came out today. So we've got our work ahead of us too, Makita. And it's always a pleasure. It's always an honor to work with you. And I look forward to doing these shows every year. Thank you for your leadership, and happy election day.
Well, John, I have to say thank you for your leadership. And it is always a pleasure working with you during these election shows. And, to our earlier point, you can't just sit around and complain. You got to do something about it. So, John, let's do something about it.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you, Ashland, for tuning in and doing something about it, presumably, if you're watching. And if you're not, really think about getting involved in town. And we'll do more of this a little bit later in the year, because we do want to hear from folks. But on behalf of WACA, my wonderful co-host, John Featherston, and everyone who made this municipal election possible, thank you for tuning in. Have a great night.